What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I'm your host, Joseph Harold, and with me, as always, my co-host, Jeff Santa. Today, we're bringing you the second installment in Around the AFC North, where we go and we take a look at our divisional opponents around the league and see how they fared and see the standings as they are after weeks of play. So, week 2, I'm glad to tell you all, well, for the most part, that everyone is currently 1-1 in the AFC North. I wish the Baltimore Ravens were 0-2, but we'll get to that later. Last week we started with the Steelers. This week we're going to start with the Cincinnati Bengals, who played the Chicago Bears, the Browns' next opponent. So that's going to be a good one to talk about. The Bengals lost 17-20. Joey Burrow struggled a little bit today or yesterday against that Chicago Bears defense, like we talked about. So Jeff, did you watch any highlights or hear anything of interest from this game?
No, I did not. It looks like, looking at the box score, that they pretty much tried to keep it similar to their week 1. They didn't totally get away from Mixon. I believe he still had 20 rushing attempts, which is, I felt like they were not doing that a whole lot last year. So they stuck with that similar theme of trying to at least have some sort of a running game. Honestly, that Bears defense is pretty good. It's tough going into Soldier Field and winning. And those are the games that the Bears are going to win probably all year long. The low scoring, especially with Andy Dalton at the helm. Not a whole lot of points, but I'm glad we get them at First Energy Stadium this weekend.
Absolutely. And so I think I have to make this point before we go any further. So if you ever go to a Browns game, they sometimes do the NFL Red Zone or in score updates. Mm-hmm. Dude, when they did the score update for the Bengals and Bears game, it was hilarious because Joe Burrow threw a pick six to Roquan Smith. I don't know how to say his name exactly, but this announcer just absolutely blitzed Burrow. He was like, Joey Burrow completes a wide open or a pass to a wide open Roquan Smith for a touchdown, like absolutely just slandering him for throwing the ball away. And it was so funny. I was laughing so hard next to my dad when that happened. But watching a little bit of this game, like Jeff and I talked about in our preview for the Chicago game, their defense is good up front. They caused a lot of Joe Burrow's mistakes. Obviously, linebacker getting an interception. I believe one of the D tackles batted his ball into an interception. So Bengals did not look as good as they did week 1. Joe Burrow did not look as good as he did in week 1. And they are now 1-1, same as us and same as everyone else in the division. Jeff, you got any more thoughts before we head into the Steelers game?
No, they're probably just going to be inconsistent all year long. Still working on it, just second year of basically everything that's going on over there. But I think they showed in week 1 that they could be decent in some matchups, and the Bears probably just wasn't the best matchup for them.
Absolutely. Moving on from that game, we have the Steelers losing to the Las Vegas Raiders, who might be the favorites in the AFC as of right now. 26-17. I still think that Ben Roethlisberger looks like dog dirt. He is old as sin, and if it wasn't for him throwing 40 plus times, I do not think he'd have a touchdown, and I do not think he would do well. This team offensively is horrendous. It's hard to watch them play, and unfortunately for them, their defense just got riddled in this game with injuries and such.
They just don't have an identity over there. I think their identity last year was try to get the ball out of Big Ben's hands quick in the passing game, just like make sure that he didn't hold the ball back there like he used to when he was younger. And then they were accepting last year that they had no run game. But 2 games into this year, they draft the running back in the first round and they still don't have a run game. I think the consensus that was a bad pick. It's early. You can't write it off as a bad pick yet. He did have a receiving touchdown. He's going to be a playmaker for them, but you might as well have drafted an offensive lineman at that point. And like you said, their defense banged up some key players. TJ Watt leaving that game, Joe Hayden being banged up, and Devin Bush as well, I believe you said.
Yeah, and I got an update from my uncle. He didn't tell me what player, but he told me a D tackle fractured his ankle, so he's out
Ooh,
for the year.
ooh.
So yeah, that team, just like our other opponent, the Baltimore Ravens, riddled, not as much, but riddled with injuries. Um, like Jeff was saying, they have no offensive identity. I think they're still trying to go through Ben Roethlisberger, which, hey, that was great about 5-10 years ago, but right now he looks like dirt, and I can't get over it. And I'm ecstatic that they want to keep going with him, but it is what it is. 26-17. You
No
know,
offense. They're playing Cincinnati this week, that's cool either way, I guess. Hope Cincinnati wins, but either way, a team's going to 2 losses.
yeah, and that would be great just to get a measuring stick. Obviously, we're going to play the Bears, which will help us tell a little bit about how we might fare against the Bengals.
Mhm.
But yeah, as of right now, I just think they're struggling, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to playing the Raiders later on in this season because I need to know between us, the Steelers, and the Ravens, how do we stack against the Raiders? So a potential playoff team for sure. But you got anything else before we go to the Baltimore game?
Nope.
That's a early contender for game of the year, I
Yeah, it
believe, this
is.
Baltimore game. I did not watch the game itself. I watched the highlights, but the Baltimore Ravens moving to 1-1 with a 36-35 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs, who, if I believe I'm correct in this stat, Patrick Mahomes has never lost in September until now. Um, this was a game that I believe started off heavily in the Chiefs' favor, and not a lot of people would have expected what happened later on, but Lamar Jackson, 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 18 of 26 for 239 yards. However, he carried for 16 times for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. This man is just willing his team in these games. Goodness, I don't know if you watched this game, but what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I watched it all. Easily the game of the year so far. I think the Thursday night game was, it was the Thursday night game was the game of the year until the Sunday night game.
Yeah.
But that's how, when you don't have, outside of Tampa last year, when you don't have that Tampa Bay defense, that's how you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what we, as the Browns, failed to do week one. The
Yep.
differences were very apparent. We got the lead. It's almost like you want to be behind against them. It's weird to say, but I feel like they're so deadly that we were playing that second half trying not to lose. We weren't
Mm-hmm.
playing to win. Harbaugh and company, they were pretty much behind the majority of the game, but they were playing to win from behind. And you just have less, when you're losing against them, you have more options. I feel like with your play calling, you have less to lose. You're going to have to score against them. But if Lamar's healthy, I hate to say this, the way he's playing, the way he has played, they're going to be the favorites in the AFC North. I think they're the favorites right now, even with 15 guys on the IR, just because they beat Patrick Mahomes, albeit on the road, but nobody's been able to beat him. Nobody's been able. The difference between Baltimore and us is that they got pressure. And when they got pressure, Mahomes made a mistake and threw his first interception in September in his
Yep.
career. But they were getting pressure with three and 4 man rushes, and their rookie defensive players were stepping up. Jason Owe played unbelievable. The kid from Penn State who runs the 4.40 had no sacks as a senior. He has like 2 or 3 sacks and a forced fumble and a fumble recovery this year as a rookie. Their rookie cornerbacks were playing good, and Kelsey burnt them, but at the end of the day, they had the ball longer than Kansas City.
Yeah, and I saw those turnovers at it was an interesting point that you made about Baker Mayfield last week, where we've seen him play great coming back from an interception early on, sometimes with the Bengals game. But I mean, this is he throws 2 interceptions early on, Lamar Jackson, and obviously just plays his heart out and brings his team back all the way to a 36-35 victory. However, we kind of saw what happened to us in the second half of that Chiefs game, where Patrick Mahomes makes a mistake, and a very similar mistake, I think, to what Baker Mayfield did, where he tries to throw the ball falling down and throws an
Mhm.
interception, and then you know, poor rookie or not rookie, but poor Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean,
Yeah.
fumbling on the drive where I think they're going in to score or at least kick a field goal. It's rough, but you see what those turnovers late in the game do to you. And unfortunately for the Chiefs, it takes them to 1-1 and moves Baltimore to 1-1. And we have a completely tied AFC North. And so we'll move on to the Browns game, which obviously we have our video of already where we review it. However, we'll just give a general sense of, hey, the Browns are still struggling on defense. Offensively, we need to be more aggressive. But Jeff, what are your thoughts in terms of the Browns and their week 2 matchup against the Texans?
Like we talked about, we have our reaction video, which has some good thoughts in it. The defense is just startling because of who we have to play in our division. You know, Lamar Jackson is primed and ready to burn us once again, which hopefully it's good that we get him later in the year and back-to-back weeks. That might be the best case scenario for this defense. Hopefully panned out as much as can be, and then you get them back-to-back weeks. Hopefully you could, not get burnt 2 weeks in a row with a bye in between. We know Joe Burrow isn't, slow, even with a knee injury. He's pretty mobile. So just think we need to get more pressure on quarterbacks. I don't think we did a good job with Patrick Mahomes. I don't think we did a good job with Tyrod Taylor and Davis Mills, but win's a win. I think that all of these, I don't know, who is Baltimore playing this week? All these
they have the Lions. They have
Detroit. These week 3 matchups are interesting though. The AFC North divisional game with the Steelers and the Bengals will be fun, and we don't have a walk in the park with Chicago Bears coming into First Energy.
Absolutely. I think the only thing that's worth noting outside of our review video is the turnover game, which was split even between the Texans and the Browns, and then the time of possession, which is a thing that I will continue to harp on all season, and I'm sure Jeff will as well. We beat them by 10 minutes. About 10 minutes. 24-55 for the Texans and 35-05 for the Browns. Obviously something we'd like to continue, especially later on in those second halves when we have, hopefully, leads. So with that all being said, Jeff, you got anything else before we wrap this one up?
Nope. Looking to be the most competitive division in football, I think, for probably the second year in a row. Maybe.
I think we might be losing that one this year to that AFC or NFC East or West, whichever division it is, with the 49ers, the Seahawks.
Yep, they're good as well.
Yeah, all those teams, Arizona. So yeah, but tough division. Obviously, we want to fight for home field advantage and that number 2, number 3, whatever seed you get for winning your division. So with that all being said, thank you all very much for watching. If you guys have not already, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. What are you guys thinking so far for 2 weeks into the NFL season? All AFC North teams, 1-1. With that being said, we'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.